The boardroom froze as the old janitor stepped inside. "Sir, this room is for executives only." One man scoffed. Laughter rippled through the room. Sharp, dismissive, cruel. But within moments, that laughter would die. Because the man they mocked held the silent power to end their company in seconds. The laughter echoed off the polished glass walls, cruel and careless, bouncing like knives across the boardroom. They saw only an old black janitor, his faded uniform, his tired shoes, his quiet presence. To them he was invisible beneath notice, a man to be shooed away. Yet they did not know that the silence in his eyes held storms they could never endure. He did not flinch at their laughter. He stood still, his hand resting on the handle of the mop he carried like a staff, calm, steady, unshaken. His silence was louder than their ridicule. For 30 years, Samuel had walked these halls. He polished their floors, emptied their bins, and heard their whispers when they thought no one was listening. But before this, he had walked on sand that burned beneath the desert sun, wearing boots heavier than fear, carrying comrades who would never come home. The smell of dust and gunpowder still lingered in his memory, as real as the sting of sweat in his eyes. Every night he remembered the cries of brothers in arms and the silence of folded flags pressed into the hands of weeping mothers. The executives in this room had never known sacrifice. Their world was paper contracts, gleaming watches, and stock prices that rose and fell with the click of a mouse. Samuel's world had once been life and death, honor and loss. Yet here he was, scrubbing their footprints from the marble, treated as if he were no more than the dirt he cleaned. "Do you even know where you are, old man?" One of them sneered. The others chuckled, tapping their pens, shifting in leather chairs worth more than Samuel's yearly pay. Not one voice rose to stop the mockery. Silence is sometimes the cruelest weapon, and every bystander in that room wielded it against him. But Samuel's silence was different. His silence was steel. His silence was patience. And in that silence, he remembered something they had forgotten. The company they ran with arrogance stood because of him. Years ago, when it teetered on collapse, Samuel had invested the payout from his military service into its survival. He had signed the first check, kept the lights on when banks had turned their backs. No one here knew, because Samuel had never boasted, never sought credit. Quietly, he had allowed them to build their towers on his foundation. And now, as their laughter filled the room, he decided it was time to remind them. Without raising his voice, without anger, Samuel laid a folder on the table. His name was etched across the original founding contract. His signature, his investment, his binding authority. The executives leaned in, their smirks fading as realization gripped them. He was not just the janitor. He was the lifeline that still pulsed through their company's veins. The room fell into stillness. Samuel's voice, deep and steady, broke the silence. "Respect is not given by position. It is earned by sacrifice." A single line, simple but heavy, hung in the air like thunder. Another followed, softer but sharper. "I carried men out of fire. Do you think I cannot carry a company out of your hands?" In that moment power shifted. The men who had laughed now sat pale and wordless, their arrogance crumbling like sand under the weight of truth. One by one, their eyes dropped, shame burning where pride had once lived. The company they had thought belonged to them was now revealed as his gift, and his to take back. Samuel did not shout, did not gloat. He simply gathered his folder, turned, and walked away. His silence was the final verdict. The door closed behind him, leaving the boardroom drenched in a silence heavier than any laughter they had ever known. Outside, workers who had heard the whispers of what happened stood straighter as he passed. Some bowed their heads in quiet respect. The old janitor had become, once again, the soldier who had never truly left the battlefield. And in that silence lived a truth every heart could feel. Honor never wears out. It only grows stronger with time. Respect is not about titles, uniforms, or the clothes a person wears. True respect is earned through sacrifice, through silent strength, through battles no one else sees. What do you think of Samuel's choice to walk away instead of destroying them? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. If you believe in honoring those silent heroes among us, subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of dignity, respect, and unseen sacrifice.